B2B Cambodia, the portal for business use in Cambodia.
Let's talk a little bit about American Indochina management. You mentioned to me also that you were involved in private equity, and you launched one of the first private equity funds that actually was an exit successfully with principal and interest. So you are familiar with the development of the capital markets and as well. How has the capital markets here been so successfully developed? I understand the government was very involved in developing the capital markets and participated in developing the capital markets. Cambodia, unfortunately, we have 11 stocks. It's a market that started about 2012, so we're 13 years old. Our trading value is still about $100,000 a day. You're at $800 million to $1 billion a day. We haven't really been able to get traction. So what were the success factors of the development of the capital markets?
Okay, several things. Vietnam is nearly 100 million people. Cambodia now is what, about
15, 16,
right? Okay, so that's a pretty significant difference. And that difference impacts foreign direct investment, not just direct, because you have enough people then to pull from, you have enough consumers then to sell to, so it matters. In the case of Cambodia, I wouldn't necessarily look at the stock market as necessarily being, it is a market. Private equity markets in a market like Cambodia could also be sufficient. And we've done investments in Cambodia and looked at investments in Cambodia. On the one hand, if you're a big fund and you make your money by basically getting a percentage of what you invest in, funds under management, assets under management, basically, if you have a limited amount of time, you spend the same amount of days. If you work on a deal that's worth 50 million, or you work on a deal which is worth 5 million, your due diligence isn't going to be that much different. The cost doesn't change that much, but the profitability changes tremendously if you do that deal for 50 million. And therefore, what you see happening is more and more consolidation where people don't get out of bed unless the deals are of a certain size. So on the one hand, it explains what one type of investor is doing. And if it's an institutional investor, they will tend to invest in the stock market, and therefore, frankly, the stock market in Cambodia is too small for most institutional investors. However, what that also does is it creates a lack of competition and opportunities for provision of capital at the lower end.
We're very excited to be in the AmCham office, and there is obviously a wonderful history to discuss. You are one of the founders of AmCham in
Founding
Vietnam.
member, yeah,
right.
One of the members, yeah.
Right. So can you go a little bit with the history of where AmCham kind of came back into the market and where you're at the moment?
AmCham started as a number of business people meeting on Fridays after work on top of the Palace Hotel for drinks. And we would talk business and we talk opportunity. We talk, how do you do this? How do you do that? Who should you talk to? And more people came in and just joined it. And we said, we could make this an AmCham. Why don't we do that? And that's what we decided to do. Well, AmCham played a pretty key role in key points in Vietnam's history. It pushed, the members of AmCham pushed hard, even before AmCham was built, the founders, as individuals, pushed hard for the lifting of the embargo and for normalization. So we were a voice back then and that early. And I wrote letters, and I know other people did. The other thing that AmCham did is we were really at the forefront of helping trade. And the bilateral trade agreement, WTO accession, and TPO, and even now with the tariffs, we're consistently saying free, fair trade, which is predictable, productive, and prosperous. And so those are the things we're focused on. We've been key to our mission, which is to be non-political. That was important, and focused on business. And that's what we stayed doing. And business was useful because, as I said earlier, it was non-political and it was non-divisive. It was something that enabled Vietnam to come out into the and to be part of the global community commercially and socially and politically. And from 1993 until now, Vietnam went from what I would consider, along with Cambodia, one of the most isolated countries economically in the world, large economies, to being what I would call one of the most globally integrated economies in the world right now, as a percentage of FDI as GDP, export as GDP, remittances coming in from overseas as a percentage of GDP, students studying overseas, trade pacts, the number of different trade pacts with different countries. So it's really been remarkable. And AmCham has, again, led as commercially focused the whole way, and playing very active roles on promoting free, fair trade and productive, predictable regulatory environments.
This has been Anthony Galliano for B2B Cambodia with Mark Gillin, who is the present chairman of American Chamber of Commerce in Vietnam and also one of the founders of American Indochina Management. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining our Vietnam series.
Cheers, thanks.
Thanks.
Be well.